What's up, everybody? Today, I've got a video for you with 3 things that are going to be working against you this season when it comes to marching band and drumline. I'm Dustin. I'm a marching percussion educator that's been doing it for almost 20 years now, and I run an online community called Directing the Line, where I help band directors plan, run, and ultimately improve their drumline all season long. I'm going to be talking about a few things today that has to do with the entire band process, and I'll provide some examples for those and some examples as it relates to drumline specifically. I'm making this video because I've been around so many different programs over the years that have all been running into the same issues, and I'm hoping that after watching this video today, you will begin to be able to improve your program and stop spinning your wheels doing the same thing year after year, season after season, over and over again. So, with all that said, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's start with number 1, procrastinating planning for the season. Bottom line is, real work happens before the season even starts. We all know that once we get into the season, there's a million things going on. But what I would like to talk about today is the actual planning that happens in the previous season, or the off season, as it were, rather than just all the stuff that happens, in the summer and at band camp. The main thing here is that the longer we wait to plan, the more potential we are losing for our band program. So here's what I mean. Think about all of the time you could have been doing something. During that time, there could be multiple iterations of the show. There could be multiple rewrites of the music. There could be multiple edits of the drill. And if you just procrastinate and wait through all that time and you start maybe, let's say, in May or June to try and get everything out, there's a lot of improvement that could have happened just in the planning process that is not happening at all, and you're just basically doing a first draft and putting it out there. It's kind of like writing a rough draft of a paper and then turning it in as your final research paper. Most people wouldn't do that if they're trying to earn the best grade possible. So all that time we could have been planning, it could have been making things better. Now, I'm sure you're saying, look, I don't have the time. I've got a family. I've got kids. I've got things to do. I've got jazz band. I've got concert band. Got all these things happening. And while those things are valid, and I'm sure they are all happening, we have to take a look at ourselves, and we have to remember that people in general plan and make time for the things that are important to them. Now, if you're a band director of a small program, you may not like marching band as much as you like teaching concert band, okay? And that's okay. But your students might like marching band more than they like concert band. They might like jazz band more than they like concert band. Whatever it is, they may have a favorite program. And if you're trying to give your students every opportunity possible to perform music, I think it's important to put value on all of your ensembles. And that means making some time to plan for marching band and making it the best it can be. Just because you might be a small band doesn't mean that you have to have a subpar marching band experience for your students. You don't have to go to every competition and lose. You don't have to always be the one that's explaining, well, we're small, so we can't compete with the big guys. You just have to make time to plan and plan accordingly. Now, if you want help with that during the season, I do have my online community, Directing the Line. I'll tell you a little bit about that here. Directing the Line is a place just for band directors to come in, work together, and specifically work one-on-one with me so that we can address your specific program problems and get you custom solutions so that you can improve your drumline. I'll work with you all year long, even throughout the off season, coming up with plans, telling you exactly what to do. You don't have to go and learn anything about percussion to be successful here. All you got to do is show up, ask the questions, take in the knowledge, and convey it to your students. I'll make it as easy as possible for you by providing video feedback, video lessons, and custom solutions for your specific program so that it's as easy as possible to get that information to your students in their hands and ultimately in their minds. So if you're interested, you can follow the link in the description below, and you can start for free for 7 days. Check it all out. And hey, if it's not for you, you can cancel anytime. in just 2 simple clicks. I hope to see you there. So we've gotten to number 2 here. You're planning either way. Maybe it's early, maybe it's late, maybe it's somewhere in the middle. But what are you planning? Well, that brings us to the second point, which is planning the show. When we're planning the show, there's a lot of logistics, there's a lot of stuff that goes on to planning for contests, for band camp, and much of that may happen with the boosters, and a lot of that happens during the season, making sure that you can actually physically move the ensemble from the school to the contest field. But what about the actual show that you're planning all this other stuff for? What about the thing that you put on the field? Well, that's what I want to hone in on for just a second. First thing is the music, right? So a lot of smaller programs that I've worked with just buy stock arrangements. Maybe they're doing a rock show and they're playing pop music. All fine, all good. There's nothing wrong with buying stock arrangements. They're cheap usually, they're fast. You can get them in the hands of students and they can be learning them, basically same day, as fast as you can download and print them. But I tend to look at stock arrangements like a cup of vanilla ice cream. Okay, so bear with me for a second. Let's think about a cup of vanilla ice cream. You've got the ice cream there, and there's nothing wrong with vanilla, right? I like vanilla. Just so happens, one of my favorite flavors, okay? I like just the creaminess of it, right? But what if we took that vanilla ice cream and we put some chocolate syrup on it, okay? Maybe we add a few peanut butter cups. What if we put some sprinkles on it? I know you like sprinkles. And what we've done is we have taken that ice cream and we have made it objectively better, right? There's more flavors in there. It's probably nicer to look at. Looks a little more delicious, okay? Makes your taste buds water. But guess what we didn't do? We didn't change the ice cream. We didn't change the flavor of the foundation of what we put out there. So the same thing can be applied to stock music arrangements, right? We don't have to just take the vanilla arrangement that a composer has written and just throw it on the field. We can dress it up. We can dress it up with color guard, right? We can dress it up with the drill. And in my experience, what I've always done is been in charge of the drum line, right? So I wrote the drum parts and I made those better and put those on the field. If you've never had a drum part written besides just the stock parts, let me tell you, there's more to music and pop music and everything else. There's more to marching band music than just the drum line playing drum set parts just split up across 5 people, okay? Really, if you were going to do that, you could just have a drum set on the field and just play that. And so the main point here is that take some time to think about what we can do to make that music more interesting. Maybe it's just the music ends after the first movement on a whole note, okay? Sounds good on the recording, sounds good, we put it on the field. But what if that note was shorter and more punchy and impactful, and we put a bass drum and a gong on it, and it was this big moment, this big, climactic moment? Wouldn't that be more interesting than just the whole note in the band and one quarter note on the drums? And think about things like that and make that vanilla soft serve, that vanilla ice cream, a little more delicious and a little more fun to eat and entertaining to watch, as it were, when it comes to marching band. So moving on, another thing about the show, and the final point here, number 3, is drill design. I've worked with so many programs where they were small and the band director, took a drill design course in college, and that is the knowledge that they've been writing drill with for many, many years, the entire time they've been teaching. And you may be sitting there like, well, yeah, that's what I do too. And granted, there's nothing wrong with that, but my challenge to you, and the reason I'm making this, is can we do it better so that we improve over time? And here's the problem that I find with the directors that are doing this, is that they're doing it outside and separate from the music. Now, I don't mean that they're not taking into account the counts of the music and they're writing to the counts. Of course, they're doing that. But they're not thinking about what is going on in the music versus what I want to see on the field, okay? So let me give you an example of something that, could have happened or that I've actually seen, and maybe this applies to you. Maybe we put the band in like this giant triangle, okay? So, something like this. And think about looking at this from the press box. Maybe there is a woodwind feature during this move. and the woodwinds are on the back part of the triangle. Okay, so they're going up like this on the field, and the brass is in the front. So they're on the flat part in the front, and they have their horns up, but they're not playing. Now, the problem here is not that we can't hear the woodwinds. Okay, that could be a problem, but that wasn't the issue here. The issue is that we have the full band in this form when really we just want to be focused on what the woodwinds are playing, both visually and audibly. And when we just make forms for the sake of making forms, the art of the visual and the effect of the visual component of our marching band show gets lost in the shuffle. And so what I suggest doing is to not go and try and write drill like some college band like Ohio State. We've all seen the crazy drill formations that they do. Really, any big college band that does all these crazy formal stuff, that's not what I'm proposing here. What I'm proposing is to always think about one thing, and that is, where do I want the judges and or the audience to be looking at any given time in my show? If I have a woodwind feature, I might want them to be looking at the woodwinds and not at the brass. So I need to do something in the drill to make that happen. So here are a few tips to use when you're writing drill and to think about ways to make these things happen and to change what we call the visual focus of the show. The first one you could do, and by the way, these are not all inclusive. This is 4 small things that you can think about when you're writing drill that will be pretty effective in any scenario. Okay. 1, you could pull a featured section off to the side, maybe to side 1 or side 2. And then you have the rest of the ensemble that is not featured either put their horns down if they're not playing and turn back field, or maybe play back field while they're marching, something that turns them around and signals to the viewer that they need to look somewhere else on the field. The second is to consider adding guard near the focus, wherever it is on the field, so that it draws the eye there, right? Big, beautiful flags that are fast moving, even if they're not fast moving, are going to draw the eye to that part on the field. So instead of just writing the guard into random spots where you can fit them in as an afterthought, or just putting them in the front of the show, consider moving them and using them to feature a portion of the show or feature a section and draw that visual focus to there when it is appropriate in the music. Third thing, use closed space, or what we call positive space forms, when you have a big moment that you want to accentuate. So think of this as like the lines, rank and file, the lines on the field, a big block that's solid and close together, maybe 2 to 4 step intervals, depending on the size of your band. Those type of forms where there's not a lot of empty space in between is great for big moments that are impactful, and you want like maybe the end of a show, end of a movement, end of a show kind of deal. Okay, use those type of forms for that. Use the opposite of that, open space forms, or what we call negative space forms, for moments that are in between or lower impact. So you could think of big arcs or curves. You could think of open circles or open squares that don't have people filled in the middle. Okay, anything like that, will it help you accentuate and goes better visually with moments of the music that are not high impact, in your face, climactic, that kind of thing. And then number 4, since I'm a drum guy, I want to put one in there for the drum line. Keep the drum line as centered and in the back as possible. Now, I've even been okay with elevator drill, what they call elevator, just going up and down the 50. I don't necessarily recommend that. Move them as the band moves, but try to keep them as centered as possible, because ultimately, this is probably for another video, you want to have the band listening back to them. But in general, try to keep them as centered as possible, and make sure that they are not too spread apart. I see a lot of drill writers try and spread the drum line to make them a part of the form. Remember that the drum line is a separate entity and they can be treated as such in the drill. They don't have to line up with the band exactly. They don't have to spread out to be in the rank and file forms. They just need to be together as a unit and evenly spaced. Here's what I recommend for the snares is to be 2 steps apart between them and then 3 steps apart between tenors and bass drums. So if we keep that spacing, try to keep it as close together. The reason is the farther apart they are, the harder it is to listen to each other and the harder it is to play clean and together. And that's going to affect your scores in a negative way. Keep it simple, keep them close together. So if you made it this far, you know the 3 things that are going to make the biggest impact this season that you should focus on getting started. That's going to be start planning early and be intentional with your planning, especially when it comes to music and improving upon the arrangements that you have. And the second part of that is to be intentional about the drill and make sure that you are writing the drill in accordance with what is going on in the music and what you want to see, and you're thinking about how do I make the thing that I want to see or the section that I want to feature be actually featured and be the thing that the audience is watching. And if you want some more tips and tricks with this kind of thing, I did a whole Drumline real-time video review, and I'll leave the link to the video right here. I'll see you there.